Today's recipe and review of the Moroccan stew from Bobby over at Flav City is what we are getting into today. So if that sounds like you, come back. Okay, y'all, thank you so much for pressing play with me today. My name is Michelle. We're at Life Adventures and Keto. If you are new here, thank you for coming in. And if you're a returning subscriber, I really appreciate you coming back. Please do all the YouTube things down below. First, we get started with making the rub for the boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And he gives us the recipe here as 1 teaspoon smoked paprika. I only had regular, so that's what I used. 1 teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of ground coriander, 1/4 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon ground cloves. After you put everything in a bowl, you want to mix that really good. This is going to go all over the tops and bottoms of the 10 boneless, skinless chicken thighs that we need for this recipe. After you have all the ingredients in the bowl, you want to mix well. So here I'm using bone-in, and they had skins on them. I pulled the skins and made chicken skin snack pieces, but I went ahead and left the bones in just for broth purposes. I think I would prefer it that way. But anyway, you want to sprinkle this ingredients over both sides of the chicken breast and fry in a pan with large sides. You want to add 1 tablespoon of oil of your choice. I used olive oil because that's what I had. Again, a pan with tall sides. You want to fry these fast to put crusts on them before you put them in the stew. They will continue cooking in the stew. So the purpose here is just to put a real good crust on the outside, not to fully cook them. Then if you're like me and you don't have a pan big enough, you repeat the process with the second half. So it calls for 10 chicken thighs. So here's the second piece of that puzzle. Okay, after sprinkling on both sides using the same pan, I put a little bit more oil in here there's not much oil left in here. So I put just a tinge more off camera. So we're going to put these other 5 chicken in here, and again on high heat so they get a really good crust on them. You will need 1 whole onion for both recipes, but a half in each. So half in the chicken stew and half in the turmeric rice or cauli rice. It calls for 1 medium zucchini squash, and I could not find any of those. These are T90 ones, so I used 2 zucchini squash cut up in cubes. So using the same pan, since all of those spices and good flavors are already down the bottom, put your half chopped onion in the bottom of that pan. We want to cook these for 6 minutes and get a good caramelize on them. Then after those have a little bit of caramelization on them, you want to go ahead and add your cubed zucchini squash directly to the same pan. After you do that, you want to go on top of that with your salt of your choice and pepper. I'm using the sea salt here, salt and pepper to taste. Here, I give that a good mix to make sure all the pieces have salt and pepper on them. Then you go on top with the ground thyme. Well, Bobby said dry thyme, but all I could find was ground thyme. So that is going to be 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, or ground, like I did. Bobby calls for half a cup of really good olives. I'm sure that he's not talking about these manzillas, but that's all I had. So put those in and give it another quick stir. 3 cloves are what he suggests you put in here. All I have was the minced garlic, so I put 3 cloves of the minced in there. There's a comparison on the back of the bottle. Mix real good and cook that all down another 3 minutes. Next, it calls for 6 ounces of roasted red pepper. All I could find was a 12-ounce here, the Great Value brand, so we put half of that bottle drained in there. Give that just a quick stir, maybe another minute or 2 without the meat, and then top all of your chicken right on top of these veggies. There's the olives that I told you about earlier. Kind of did it a little bit out of order, but there you go. Here comes all 10 pieces of the chicken. I have to kind of stack it on top of each other. So next after this is called for 1.5 to 2 cups of chicken stock. Now, I make homemade bone broth, and that's what I had. I needed to save the chicken broth for the Thanksgiving meal, so I used about 3 cups of this chicken broth, thinking that it would moisturize off while boiling, and that did not happen. So I over poured my broth in here. If I make this again, I would have not put as much broth in the stew itself. So as you see, our next ingredient is lemon. I put 3 slices. The recipe said 4, but I didn't remember that. So I put 3 slices. It says just tuck in around the chicken. Here's a little snippet of them both together, and let's make the turmeric riced cauliflower. I had a real hard time finding any cauliflower that looked decent. I had to snip off the brown edges of this. I did find 2 medium heads of cabbage, which is what is required for this turmeric cauliflower rice. However, they're $3 a piece, you guys, just the regular. That's not organic. So this recipe really quickly turned into not a really budget-friendly recipe, but it did make 5 meal prep recipes of both. So anyway, it was really good too, you guys. It's really good. So if you're not living back in times like me, you might have another way to do this. But all I have is a handheld grater. So I grated 2 medium heads of cauliflower. Try not to get the stems and stuff in here is my pro tip. Okay, so we want to take half an onion here and dice it up, chop it up, however you like to put it. It calls for 1/2 onion. Put another 1 tablespoon of oil in the bottom of a very high-sided pan. You want to do this on a higher heat setting. Add to that the onion you just chopped up. And after you've got that all in there, you want to salt and pepper to taste. Again, I'm using the sea salt here. Cracked pepper, but I only had this pepper, so salt and pepper to taste is what he has said. Then you want to give that a quick mix again so everything has salt and pepper on it. He calls for 3 cloves of garlic. Again, all I have is the mince, so I used an equivalent of 3 tablespoons of garlic and put that in. You want to cook that on a little bit of a higher heat, about 6 minutes is what he says. Then put over your ground turmeric. 1 tablespoon of turmeric. Mix well again. Make sure it's all incorporated throughout the onion. And then you want to add in ground, actually he wants fresh ginger, but all I have was ground ginger. 1 teaspoon of ginger. After you have mixed well, you want to go ahead and dump all of the cauliflower rice right on top of this, and again mix and incorporate well. After you had made sure that all of those spices are mixed up really well, you want to go ahead and add 1 cup of unsweetened coconut milk. You want to put it on a low heat at this point when you add the coconut milk in there. Make sure it is unsweetened though, guys. You also want to put in your lime zest, reincorporated, mix all of this around. Bring the heat back up just a tinge to where you have a little bit of a boil. Then you want to put a lid on it. You want to cook this for 5 to 7 minutes. It took the whole 7 for me before it was ready for me to eat. But that is it. And I say that is it, but it is really a lot. But it is worth it, you guys. It's worth it. Okay, you guys, it is a lengthy process, but this recipe was well worth the effort. It has a huge high profile, flavor profile. It is a really good meal prep. It does keep you really fed and not hungry for a long time. I hope that you make this dish keto on and keto strong. And please follow me right back here next time. Please do all the YouTube things down below. See you next time. Love ya. Sharing is caring.